Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us at this webinar hosted by the Daylight Academy. My name is Lydia Moreno, and as the program manager of this organization, I have a great pleasure to welcome you and open this session. Today, we are here to present a fantastic comic book about circadian rhythms and how light affects our body. And we are especially here to celebrate the fact that thanks to many volunteers across the world, the comic book has now been translated from English into 21 different languages, which is an extraordinary achievement. So the book was created and also beautifully illustrated by neuroscientist Coline Weinzaepflen, who is with us today, and edited by Manuel Spitschan, who will moderate the webinar in a few minutes. And let me just share my screen now to present them properly and also share some information with you. Just a moment. Okay. So here you can see the both creator of this comic book, Enlighten Your Clock, How Your Body Tells Times. And what I want to mention too is that the original version, the English version, was developed as part of the SCRAMS network, which is the Sleep, Circadian Rhythms and Mental Health in Schools network, a project from the University of Glasgow. And the translation, so 21 translation, were financially supported by the Velux Stiftung, which is a foundation based in Switzerland and funding scientific research worldwide. And as I mentioned before, this event today is hosted by the Daylight Academy, which is a program actually of this foundation of the Velux Stiftung. And here a few words about the Daylight Academy. So it is an international membership organization that connects scientists, architects, engineers, artists, and actually all kinds of professionals involved in daylight research or with a special interest in daylight-related topics. And what we try to do is encourage creativity and innovation through this interdisciplinarity. And also very important, we want to disseminate the knowledge not only among specialists, but also into the public. And so now, before handing over to Manuel and the other speakers, I also would like to invite you in the audience to contribute, to participate in the discussion. And you can ask all your questions to the speakers. And to do that, please use the Q&A, the question and answer tool that you can find at the bottom of your screen. And there you can write your question at any time, and you can also vote for other questions you find particularly interesting. And the question with the most like or the most likes will appear on the top and will be prioritized by the moderator. So don't hesitate to use this at any time. And yeah, now I'm very happy to introduce the moderator of today, Manuel Spitschan. Manuel is a university research lecturer at the University of Oxford. His background is in psychology, and his research focuses on the visual and non-visual effects of light on humans and how to study them in lab and field. He is also a member of the Daylight Academy, and as I mentioned before, he's the editor of the comic book we are celebrating today. So enjoy the webinar, all of you, and Manuel, please, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Lydia, and also the entire team at the Daylight Academy really for putting on this and organizing this great event. I'm really excited today because we are finally releasing these translations, 21 in total, that a dedicated team of volunteers has been working on over the past couple of months. And you know, as someone who was as the coordinator of this entire effort, it was really good to see all these various translations come together and materialize and really see it through. So it's a very special day, I think, because you know, months of work come come here to a conclusion. And of course, our hope here, of course, is that the translations will live on in its various languages and find readers all over the world. What we're doing today is kind of a twofold thing. Of course, we want to introduce the translations, and we want to introduce in particular the translator teams and basically showcase everything that they have done. But we also want to learn a little bit. And to this purpose, we have invited Professor Daniel Smith to give a short presentation. There's a little bit of background noise there. Thank you. So to this end, we've invited Professor Daniel Smith from the University of Edinburgh to give a talk on sleep, light, and mental health in teenagers. A little bit about Danny. I've known him for about 2 years now, and he approached me asking, hey, are you interested in joining a grant application that we're putting together to develop a network focusing on sleep, circadian rhythms, and mental health in schools. It's a UK-based network. Was then funded, and as part of this, we actually developed the comic book. So this is the SCRAMS network that Lydia discussed or brought up earlier. A little bit about Danny. He joined the University of Edinburgh as chair of psychiatry and head of the division of psychiatry in 2021. He has a long-standing interest in causes and treatment of bipolar disorder, and more recently, his work is focused on the genetic epidemiology of mood disorders, data science, and mental health informatics. His research has been recognized by several awards, including from the American Psychiatric Institute for Bipolar Disorder, the Association of European Psychiatrists, and the Lister Institute Research Prize. So I'm very happy to welcome Danny today to give a talk on sleep, light, and mental health in teenagers. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function, and we'll try to answer these questions after the talk. Danny, again, great to have you here. The floor is yours.
Fabulous. Thanks, Manuel, and thanks to the Daylight Academy and all the team for the invitation to speak to you today and to really showcase SCRAMS, I guess, and also contextualize the development of the comic book as well. So I've been asked to talk about sleep. I'll just go back to the start. Sleep, light, and mental health in teenagers, because really that was the focus of the SCRAMS network. This was funded by the Medical Research Council in the UK to bring together over an 18-month period a really diverse interdisciplinary group of people who are interested in sleep and circadian rhythms and how they relate to mental well-being in young people. So that was our focus in SCRAMS. I would recommend, if you're interested in all of the work that we've achieved over the last 18 months, please do have a look at our website, which is up and running again. There's lots of information here about the members of the SCRAMS sort of collaboration, as well as all of the engagement activities that we managed to do. And I should say that many of these engagement activities were delivered during the pandemic restrictions. And many of you will know that schools for a long period in the UK anyway closed effectively. So that was a big challenge to us. But thanks to the wonders of technology, we were still able to do quite a lot of useful work, I think, with schools remotely during that time. So this is the kind of thing that you'll see on the website. We've got all sorts of summaries of presentations and conferences that we have delivered, engagement activities. A lot of the stuff was co-produced by pupils. There's one school in particular who really took this on board and delivered a whole week on sleep within their curriculum with lots of really excellent information generated by pupils and by teachers and by family members. So if you get a chance, please go and have a look at our website, and please send us some feedback if there's anything that you think you'd like more information on or would like to comment on. So that's the SCRAMS website. But getting to the meat of the talk this afternoon, obviously circadian rhythms are critical in biology and critical for human well-being. Many of you here today are very, very familiar with that. And clearly this is something, this timing of physiological and biochemical and behavioral activities, this timing of these activities to day and night cycles is something that has evolved over many thousands and millions of years. And it's really, as I said, critical to well-being. And it's really, I think, I've become interested in this area because in my field of bipolar disorder, disruption of sleep and circadian function is actually fundamental to the illness. But the more I've looked at it, the more relevant these disruptions are to all sorts of psychopathology, and especially for young people. So I think young people in particular are in the current 24-hour style of living that we have, and especially urban living that is predominant in the world. Teenagers in particular are very vulnerable to the adverse mental health effects of circadian disruption, I think. So I guess on this diagram, I just wanted to highlight something that many of you will be familiar with, which is the fact that, that certain things happen at certain times. So melatonin, for example, becomes secreted later in the evening as the lights dim, hopefully, and sends us all off to sleep, hopefully. And also that stops as we get nearer the morning, and other things kick in the morning, like cortisol. And obviously there's a spread of activities that have optimal function at different times of the day. So this is very relevant to teenagers, I think. But fundamental to this, and I guess highly relevant to the Daylight Academy, is the fact that light is the major way in which we synchronize our rhythms, the day and night cycles. And it's really, really fundamental. So it's a big interest in bipolar disorder, but of course it's a big interest at a population level and for population health. And as I said, particularly for young people. So I wanted just to emphasize the idea that light is the fundamental way in which these rhythms are synchronized effectively. A little bit on why we sleep. Again, this will not be news to many of you, but some of you will be very familiar with ideas around the function of sleep. Sleep is clearly a very dynamic and important activity for humans in terms of homeostasis and well-being. Clearly, energy conservation may be part of that, sleeping in the night, and also restoration recovery is critical as well. But perhaps most important and really relevant to young people is the fact that sleep has a very, very important function in terms of memory, learning, information processing, and consolidation. And you can imagine that when the brains of teenagers are developing post-puberty at a very rapid rate, and they are learning so much about how to interact with each other in the world, that anything that can disrupt that kind of developmental process is potentially very, very important in terms of tipping people into having episodes of mental illness. So I just want to emphasize the importance of brain functions like memory, learning, and information processing for young people in particular, and that link with healthy sleep. Again, teenage years are a time when many young people, boys more than girls apparently, become night owls to some extent and are less ready to go to sleep at reasonable times. Obviously that changes throughout life, but this again highlights that there's a really critical developmental period during which, because of chronotype changes in young people, they are particularly vulnerable to the adverse effects of not getting enough sleep or being disrupted from the day-night cycles even more. So I just wanted to highlight that this predominant chronotype of being a night owl in teenagers is part of the biological problem that makes them vulnerable to mental health problems in our current society. And there's been a lot of work on this that I've tried to summarize here. It'll be familiar to many of you, but when we look in detail at potential adverse effects of sleep deprivation or disrupted circadian rhythmicity in young people, we find that this is associated with all sorts of difficulties at school in terms of performance, educational attainment, concentration, and memory. We saw from the earlier diagram that concentration for all of us tends to be better for certain tasks in the afternoon, but yet we often have exams for young people in the morning time when they're really suboptimal, a lot of them. Behavioral disruption can be an issue with aggression, bullying, more risk-taking behaviors, more drug-taking, alcohol use, accidents, driving, etc., impulsive behaviors as well. So sleep disruption affects young people at school in terms of their performance, but also outside school in terms of how they interact with their peers, interact with their families, and the way that the lifestyle choices that they find themselves making. But of course, as a psychiatrist, I'm probably most interested in the fact that the developing brain in the teenage years has that added insult of sleep and circadian disruption will be more vulnerable, especially in those who are genetically predisposed to the manifestation of things like anxiety and depression, and that crucially as well, more optimistically, sleep is probably a modifiable factor that we don't address sufficiently in clinical practice. So just having an awareness of how sleep disruption and sleep deprivation can lead to anxiety and depression in young people is important for thinking about how we might help them in terms of addressing those symptoms without the need for medication, for example, especially early in the course of any illness that may be developing. So that's a single slide that attempts to summarize a very large body of literature on sleep deprivation in teenagers. I just want to move on now to some of the feasibility work that we did as part of the SCRAMS project. And the first thing that we did was really a very modest study to see if we could effectively collect 2 weeks worth of objective rest activity data using wrist-worn actigraphs in young people. We did this in 4 schools, about 70 pupils. And really the purpose of this was just to demonstrate and find out the barriers to collecting these kind of data. We also collected mental health data at the same time, and we've written a paper on this published in PLOS One that you can look up. But essentially, I guess some of the highlight features were a relatively brief average sleep duration in these Scottish school kids, and also strikingly, I think, quite a late onset of sleep measured from the actigraphs of almost 11 p.m. during the week when they were going to school, and about 11:30 p.m. at the weekend. So that's quite striking, and I guess somewhat worrying, because there will be some kids who will be at a far extreme beyond that, going to sleep very late during the week and then going to school early in the morning. And effectively, we found that almost all pupils, perhaps unsurprisingly, had a degree of social jet lag where they were needing to catch up on sleep at the weekend. So that was just a very simple descriptive feasibility paper, and it really paved the way for more ambitious work that we started doing with SCRAMS. One of the key things that I should mention is that these studies are very hard to execute. It's very difficult to recruit large numbers of pupils and to keep them engaged in work. So a big thing that we've been careful to do in SCRAMS is to really work carefully with schools and to feed back information to schools about the data that's being collected, and to try and incentivize participation in this. And I think that's been, for me, one of the biggest learning points of how to do this kind of work, is really to co-design and work with teachers and pupils and family members to do this in a kind of way that benefits both parties. So one of the things we've done more recently is a slightly more ambitious feasibility study where we try to see if we might be able to collect not only 3 weeks of actigraph data, but also twice daily ecological momentary assessments of mood using mobile phone prompts and assessments of mood, as well as pre and post assessments on iPads and tablets of cognitive function. And our ambition was to do this in the winter and to do it in the summer and to compare the two. To some extent, this was successful, but a big challenge was the fact that there was a schools lockdown right in the middle of this study. So many of the kids were not actually going to school. So there was a lot of learning points from this. Our future ambition is to really do this on a large scale. We want to think about latitude and seasonality and age and pubertal development and how all of these factors might affect the association between sleep and circadian function, cognitive function, daily mood, and maybe even risk of depression and anxiety. So these kind of feasibility studies have been incredibly helpful for us for designing more ambitious, larger studies in the future. And if you're interested, we'll be talking more about this particular study at the British Sleep Society Congress next month. So just to conclude, I thought it might be helpful, and hopefully this might stimulate some discussion. How can we possibly address some of these challenges in our current society? Lots and lots of people are interested in later school start time for teenagers, for example, but we know there are big challenges in delivering that. Simple things may be possible. PE outside, getting bright light into the eye first thing in the morning alongside activity and alongside fresh air could be something that most schools, I guess, could adopt. Certainly during lockdown, we've discovered that many schools took lessons outside with many advantages to doing that, and that seemed to work well. It's more of a challenge in climates like Scotland, especially during the winter, but there are obviously ways to address that. Many people have called for examinations for teenagers only to be held in the afternoon, taking account of the fact that they all have late chronotypes and are sleep deprived and struggle in the mornings. And of course, it's possible to think about daylight exposure, I guess, but also circadian lighting in schools, especially in wintertime, which is an option. So I'm going to stop there. I hope I've left some time for some discussion and questions. But before I finish, I just want to acknowledge the massive effort and the excellent experience that SCRAMS has been for me, and I think all the co-investigators from really diverse backgrounds and from lots of different institutions across the UK and Ireland. So many thanks to my SCRAMS investigators. I'll stop there and I'll be very happy to take some questions. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Danny. I should also say it was really fun to be part of the SCRAMS project. So really grateful to have been part of it, and it's really fun. So we got a couple of questions in the Q&A, and to the audience, if there's any other questions that you might ask or anything that you just want to bring up, please add it to the Q&A. So the first question comes from Anne, and she's asking, or she's saying, I'm a little concerned that the need for light will drive commerce to market artificial light from all kinds of light sources instead of respecting daylight. To what extent can artificial light replace daylight?
So that's a really good question, isn't it? And I guess, Anne, it depends where you are in the world. The strength of that market force, I guess more northern countries, more northern latitudes there might be a stronger market force for that. In terms of to what extent can artificial light replace daylight, I think Manuel's probably better placed to answer that than me, because obviously nothing is as good as daylight, but I'm guessing some of these circadian lighting systems are getting pretty close to that. Manuel, do you want to?
I think it's interesting to think about what sets daylight apart from artificial light. Ultimately, if you have cells in the eye, whatever the light source is, what matters is the distribution of photons. But I think there's a couple of things that are very special about daylight that are just very hard to recreate in any artificial lighting system. I think the first one is broad spectrum light. It's ultimately light from the sun that gets filtered through the atmosphere and is available in a huge hemisphere that is above us, right? So that's something that would be very difficult to simulate in any way with artificial lighting systems. The other one is, of course, intensities, light intensities that would be quite, you need just a lot of energy to get it as bright as daylight. And I suppose the other thing is just the way that I think electricity, of course, is used also. In a way, daylight is free, right? So I'm thinking as a resource that we could tap into, even in a physiologically inspired way. It feels to me that if we can use daylight, we should use it as much as possible. Of course, for the lighting market, that's a market, right? So that's a very different thing to think about that than to say what is physiologically optimal. And of course, if you want to market something, I think it's just a very different question compared to the science behind it. I'll move on to the next question. Johanna Kramer asks, is it known how much of the late chronotype of teenagers is due to biological reasons, and how much, if any, is a consequence of cultural behaviors, for example, due to partying late at night?
So I'm going to sit on the fence with this one and say clearly both contributions are important. So I don't think there's much doubt that there's a kind of biological and genetic driver and a developmental driver that's more biological towards later chronotype in teenagers. But equally, clearly, social and cultural circumstances will influence that in a big way. I think it's hard to separate the two, isn't it, really? But as I say, I think both are clearly important, and this is, as far as I'm aware, a big area of debate, the extent to which chronotype is, irrefutable and unchangeable, and how much of it can be modified. But I think it ultimately comes down to variation across people. Some people, human beings, are often have a spread of vulnerabilities, don't they? So I guess what we should be more concerned about are kids who are maybe at the further end of the spectrum, who may be particularly vulnerable to disruption because of an extreme chronotype, and helping those kids might be a priority, for example. So I think it's complicated. Biology and environment, clearly very important both.
Great. An answer from Evelyn Ludwig. Did you observe an increase in anxiety and depression among children during lockdown and homeschooling?
Yeah, so absolutely. And we were involved with another study as part of SCRAMS, which was part of the Generation Scotland cohort. It was called Teen COVID Life, actually. So a lot of the teenagers in our schools took part in Teen COVID Life, and absolutely, yes, there was indeed an increase in anxiety and depression during lockdown conditions, and especially when school was out. So unsurprisingly, many children really struggled with the isolation from their peers. They didn't really struggle so much with not seeing their teachers, surprisingly, but it's just being separated from that regular routine of going to school and interacting with their peers seems to have been particularly difficult for many young people.
Great. Next question from an anonymous attendee. It appeared in the graph that night owl habits peaked in the early to mid-20s. Are you focusing on teenagers in order to diverge these habits before they occur, instead of focusing on people in the peak region?
Yeah, absolutely. So teenage years are just critical for future mental health, and for understanding and preventing mental health problems. So, for example, schizophrenia, psychosis, bipolar disorder, all have their onset in the late teenage years and become manifest in the early 20s. So I think if we want to intervene preventatively, properly, we really need to understand that transitional period post-puberty through to young adulthood, because that's where the action is likely to be therapeutically in terms of prevention of mental illness. So yeah, that's kind of why lots of people are interested in that period.
Great. We got one question from Babita Pandey. Thank you for the important talk. She wants to know which cognitive functions were observed in the feasibility study.
So we use this Test My Brain platform, and the honest answer is it was a mix of things. So there was some executive functioning, there was some working memory functioning, some visual and verbal memory tasks, but it was quite a lot of it was executive functioning tests. But I could send you more details on that. If you want to drop me a line, I can actually send you exactly what tests were carried out.
Great. And then the final question, just to wrap up, from Katarina Wolf. She said she raised a child in the UK. The 13-year-old made their own survey of how much time they spent on homework. About 2 to 4 hours a day. They spent 8 hours per week. Do you have a record of how many hours the children in the study spend? Because it competes with free time or spare time for children.
No, we didn't ask about that, unfortunately. So is Katrina, can I clarify, are you saying there's too much homework in the UK? Is that the idea? Or, because that hasn't been my experience with my kids, but maybe they're not telling me everything. But yeah, I guess in some countries, there's a lot of demand, isn't there, on kids after school for school tasks and that continue. So, but yeah, obviously that's the kind of thing in the future we would want to be recording when we study this stuff.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Danny, for this really great talk, and also the Q&A. Really, really great to work with you on this project as well. And there's a couple more questions you can see if you want to answer them.
Yeah, but, I can type some stuff in.
Excellent. Great. Perfect. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next part of the program today, which is introducing the translator teams. And of course, We have, as I mentioned before, we have 21 translations of the comic book, all of which are now released. So if you go to enlightenyourclock.org/translations, and I can put the link in the chat as well, you can download them there for free. So I just want to invite the illustrator, Coline, to let's see, now to turn on the video. And also what we're going to do basically is introduce the translator teams while Coline is drawing where they are on a map of the world. So we can see really this is a global effort. And I can see the small map there and as part of Coline's video. Can we make this bigger, or can we highlight this in some way?
Yes, Manuel, I will spotlight.
Excellent, great.
Just a moment.
Perfect, good. So we'll start with basically an alphabetical. We'll go in alphabetical order of the teams that are live, present live here in the audience. And what we'll start with is Siraji, who worked on the Bangla translation. Siraji, go ahead.
Thank you, Manuel and the Alert Academy, for this opportunity. Hi, everyone. I am Shiraji. I am a PhD student at Monash University. So the first time I came across with these comics, I was very much amazed by the simplicity of these comics to convey the importance of having a good light habit and light diet to entrain your circadian rhythm. So when the opportunity came, I was very much happy to translate it in my native language, Bangla. I hope everybody will enjoy reading these fabulous comics. So thank you, everyone. Thumbs up.
Excellent. Thank you, Siraji, for this. Next up, we have the Brazilian Portuguese translation from Luisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Luisa. I'm a PhD student at Johnson Lab at Vanderbilt, which is in the US, but I'm originally from Brazil, and I was very excited to participate in this project. I really like the idea of conveying science through, different meanings that aren't just for the scientific public itself. And that was something like cartoons was something that I had never really seen done for the field of chronobiology. So I thought it was a really nice initiative, and I'm glad that I participated.
Excellent. Thank you, Luisa, for joining us. Great. Next up, we have the Chinese translation. Chengpeng, are you there? Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chengpeng. I'm very happy to join today's event and glad to help to translate the comic book into Chinese with Dr. Zhang Xiaodong. We are both from China and currently based in the UK. Just for a quick introduction, I'm a PhD student at University College London, and my research focuses on spectral effects of light on the circadian entrainment and perception of atmosphere. So when I heard about the topic of comic books, it certainly just caught my attention. And Dr. Zhang would like to send his apologies for not being able to attending today's event. He's a researcher at the University of Oxford, and his main interest is to understand how the circadian rhythm influence the viral infection. So finally, we're glad that we make some contribution to the comic book, and we hope you enjoy reading it as we do. Thank you. Excellent, thank you.
Now we have a team of Danish translators who also send their apologies. The Danish translation was prepared by Eskil Soldal Eriksson, Peter Kohler, Louise Hansen, and Johan Wibro. Unfortunately, they cannot join today, but of course the Danish translation is available. Next up, we have the Dutch translation, led by Marijke Gordijn.
Marijke, hi everybody. Yes, I'm representing a team of people from the Netherlands, the 3 people. On the one hand, you have Professor Eus van Zomeren. He's a professor at the Netherlands Institute for Neuroscience in Amsterdam. And his main focus is on insomnia, characteristic causes, and also therapy. In the middle, you have Laura Kervezee. She is a postdoc working at the University Medical Center in Leiden. Her focus is on human chronobiology, night shift work, optimizing circadian rhythm, and she's also very enthusiastic about public outreach. So that was also with this comic book a very elegant way of doing that. And she was very important in obtaining a huge Dutch grant. You will probably hear more about that. It's a very nice grant, BioClock Consortium, with about 30 institutes and apartments in this small country in the Netherlands. So, and the main focus of BioClock is really also the societal impact of chronobiology. And then me, myself, I'm Marijke Gordijn. I'm a guest researcher at the University of Groningen and heading Chrono at Work, a spin-off of the university, also interested in translating all the science behind chronobiology and sleep to society. And one of our nice projects was Charge Your Brains, which is educational material for teenagers. And it's only in Dutch, but I'm still interested to translate it to other languages as well. And this translating the book was a nice first step to have at least some other material for this group of age, this age group. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Marijke. Next up, we would have Coline, but because she's drawing, we're going to come back to her towards the end of the session. And of course, she's done not only the drawing and writing of the book initially, but also then retranslating it back into French. So we'll come back to her. Next up, we have the Greek translation. Myrta, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So me and Mariana Kapsataki, my partner in this, we translated it in Greek. We're very happy to see that it was eventually translated in 21 languages. It seems like a great effort. So I am a PhD student at Eindhoven University of Technology. My project relates to lighting, non-visual effects, and building design, and how to include that in computer simulations. And my partner, Mariana, she is a postdoc researcher now in University College of London, and she did her PhD in neuroscience, researching memory in healthy aging and after a stroke. So we both had the interest in sleep and light, and yeah, we hope that it's a step towards a public outreach.
Excellent, thank you, Myrta. Next up, we have the Hindi translation. Meenakshi, please go ahead. Sorry, you're muted. Sorry.
Yeah. Namaste, everyone. This is from India. I am Professor Meenakshi Sinha. I am at All India Institute of Medical Sciences at Chhattisgarh, India. And this work was really very interesting. I must congratulate, first of all, Manuel and Coline for a wonderful piece of book which they have taken out. And it was a privilege to do this Hindi translation. And as you know, Hindi is like fourth most spoken language in the world, with 600 million people who are Hindi speaking, right? So I expect that this will reach to masses, and this is going to be really useful and really informative. I was assisted by, we had a team of people working together, Dr. Babita Pandey, who is postdoctorate fellow with me, and then we had two young aspirants from, different places. That is, one is Miss Sonni. She is from Germany. She's doing her, higher studies at Germany. And the other one is Miss Vaishnavi. She's working at Israel presently. So this work has given us a wonderful opportunity, and we wish all the best and a wide coverage of this book. Congratulations and compliments again.
Thank you to you for this wonderful translation. We really hope that it's going to reach many readers in Hindi. Thank you. Next up, we have the Lithuanian translation comes from Simona Skripkauskaite, who unfortunately also cannot join us, so apologies from her. But thanks again to her also for doing this. And again, the Lithuanian translation is available for download. Next up, we have the Portuguese translation represented by Joanna. Go ahead.
So hi, everyone. Myself and Raul Lima, who is an adjunct professor of physics in Portugal and works in light pollution. We accepted this challenge, although we didn't know each other. I'm a postdoc in biomedical engineering at the engineering science department at the University of Oxford, and I work in neuroimaging. So it was nice to have this combination of knowledge, different knowledge, and it was a really fun experience. And I congratulate this effort. I think it's really important to have this sort of science dissemination and reach out to younger generation. So yeah, congratulations.
Excellent. Thank you to Joanna and Raul for this great translation. And of course, you mentioned something there that I hadn't noted, which was sometimes people would email me and say, hey, I'm interested in doing a translation in this language or that language. And, instead of saying you should do it and then, you own this, I said, well, why don't you create a team with this other person or these other people, which of course always is a little bit of a risk if you don't know this. But as far as I can tell, everyone has been matched with in a good team of collaborators there. If that's not the case, please do reach out to me and let me know. The next translation is into Russian. Aya Golan, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Aya Golan. I'm a PhD student in cognitive psychology at Tel Aviv University. I was born and raised in Kyrgyzstan, which is a former USSR republic, and I reside in Israel. We have a lot of Russian speakers in Israel, so basically every fifth person is a Russian speaker here. And in general, in the world, there are almost 300 million Russian speakers. The way I found out about this project is I saw Manuel's post on Twitter, and that same day I thought maybe I should start volunteering. And then I saw his post, and that was it. I wrote him a message, and that's how it started. So congratulations, beautiful illustrations, and I'm very happy to see such a team effort, and success to everyone.
Great, thank you, Aya, and great to have you on board. Next up, we got the Swedish translation from Malcolm. Malcolm.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Unfortunately, the organizer has blocked my video, so you can't see me. Okay, now they're asking me to start my video, so let's see if we can do this. Can you see me? Excellent. Hi, my name is Malcolm von Schantz. I'm professor of chronobiology and also deputy faculty pro-vice chancellor for research and knowledge exchange at Northumbria University. And well, the reason why I volunteered to do the Swedish translation is that I am a member of the SCRAMS consortium. And also I'm originally from Sweden, but because I'm extremely ancient, I left Sweden in 1995. So I would also like to acknowledge my niece, Sigrid Abrahamsson, who helped me after I did my translation with a sanity check to make sure that my language was not too archaic. And it's been a really exciting project to be involved in all these aspects.
Excellent. Great to have you on board, Malcolm, as well. Thank you. And finally, the last live presentation is from Malia Ashraf, who did the Urdu translation. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Malia, and I'm a PhD student at the University of Liverpool. I'm from Pakistan, and Urdu is the native language there. And my motivation for taking part in this project was that although there are approximately 100 million native Urdu speakers in the world, the body of scientific knowledge in this language is rather limited. So it was a bit challenging to translate all these highly specialized scientific terms, but I had a lot of fun mixing and matching and borrowing terms from Persian and Arabic sometimes. My own research is in the area of color and contrast vision, so not quite sleep related, but I found the book really informative and really enjoyed reading and translating it. And I'm hoping to disseminate this book to the wider public locally, and hope it will create awareness about a very important topic concerning kids and teenagers specifically. Thanks.
Excellent. Again, thank you as well for leading this translation. And thanks to everyone who was able to join live for the live introductions. We have a couple of pre-recorded videos for a couple of other languages. Lydia and Viola, are you able to play them? Perfect. So we'll start with Catalan.
Hi everybody! I'm very happy to participate in this great project to make more people aware of nocturnal artificial light problem and their consequences on people's health. My name is Enric Marco. I live in the Valencian country, one of the Catalan-speaking countries located in the east of the Iberian Peninsula. I am the president of CEST, an association that fights against light pollution, and our group tries to raise awareness to the society, report inadequate street lighting installation, and help public administrations to make regulation in order to avoid the negative impact of light pollution. I work as an astronomer in the Department of Astronomy at the University of Valencia, and I have always been concerned about the loss of the night and the artificial light invasion in natural areas. Together with my wife, Rosa Magraner, graduated in Catalan philology, we have translated the comic into Catalan, a language spoken by 10 million people in the Valencian country, Catalonia, Northern Catalonia, the Balearic Island, and Andorra. Thank you very much.
Hola, soy Xavi.
Hola, soy Martín.
E pertencemos á agrupación astronómica coruñesa IO.
Fixemos a traducción ao galego do caderno Enlighten Your Clock, na nosa lingua, un reloxo con moitas luces.
O galego é a lingua propia da Galiza, un país que se atopa ao noroeste da Península Ibérica, xusto ao norte de Portugal.
É unha lingua con longo e grande cultivo literario, mais tamén científico.
Unha das grandes representantes da nosa lingua é a escritora Rosalía de Castro, que desde o 2019 conta ca súa propia estrela, na constelación do Serpentario.
Agardamos que a traducción ao galego desta banda deseñada axude a coñecer mellor a nosa lingua no mundo.
Unha aperta e vos ceos.
Até outra.
Hello from the German translation team. My name is Raphael Azar and I work as a PhD student at the Center for Chronobiology in Basel, and I'm interested in the effects of light on circadian rhythms in teenagers.
Hello, I'm Johanna. I'm a plant scientist in Lausanne, and my research interests are the circadian clock, photobiology, and plant metabolism.
And hello from me as well. I'm Nina Engelhardt, based in Stuttgart in Germany, and my field of expertise is English literature. And I'm particularly interested in interrelations between literature and science.
Fun fact, Nina and Johanna have known each other since first year primary school.
In our opinion, conveying a scientific message in such a fun and relatable way is a great contribution.
We had a lot of fun with this translation, and our biggest challenge was the length of German words and sentences.
Hi, Manuel, Coline, and everyone. I'm happy to join the launch event of Enlighten Your Clock. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity to make and share such an interesting comic book. We are here. Japanese Standard Time is 7 hours ahead of Central European Summertime. Unfortunately, due to the time difference, we won't be able to attend the event. So we've made and uploaded this video in advance. Let me introduce ourselves. Yu Tahara, he's an expert in chronobiology and chrononutrition. And I, Yoko Komada from Sleep Science, translated the comic book into Japanese. As you know, there are many popular anime such as Pokemon, One Piece, Ghibli's movie, Sailor Moon, etc. in Japan. I believe a talking cat will be famous and popular all over the world. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Lucy Bjerrum, and Daniel Wete and I have translated Enlighten Your Clock into Norwegian. Daniel Wete lives in Trondheim in Norway. He is a clinical psychologist and PhD student in the Trondheim Sleep and Chronobiology group at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. Wete's research focuses on the effects of evening lighting on circadian rhythms and sleep and the use of chronotherapy in psychiatric care. And I live in Bergen in Norway. I'm a PhD student in Bergen Research Group for Innovation, Growth, Health and Technology at the University of Bergen. My research focuses on the acute effects of light during daytime on cognitive and emotional functioning. It has been so much fun working with this comic book, and we look forward to this event.
Hello everyone and good afternoon. I'm Mahsa, a PhD student at Chronobiology Center in University of Basel.
I'm the Persian translator and I'm from Iran. Well, when I heard from Manuel about the comic project, at first I was so excited. And then I remember whenever I talked about my project with my family and my friends, they are curious and would like to know more about sleep and alertness. So I said to myself, what would be better than this opportunity? And then I told Manuel, during this project, I realized that there are many advanced words that they don't have a Persian exact translator, and also there are not many resources for native people who want to increase their knowledge in this field. So I think as an Iranian person who knows a little about sleep, I'm responsible for sharing at least one native resource to them. And I'm extremely happy that people, especially teenagers, can have an access to these comics that explains sleep concepts very well and in a simple way. And I'm sure there are many other countries that the lack of sleep resources are tangible in their mother tongue, and hope these projects get more viral and many others join for it. And finally, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Manuel and Coline for this idea and this opportunity. And thank you all for being here today. Bye.
Hello, good afternoon. We are Ana,
Eugenia,
Andrés,
and Diego.
We are the Spanish translator team. We all study different aspects of chronobiology in different model organisms. So when we heard about Manuel's project, we all immediately and simultaneously decided that we wanted to contribute. We think it's very important to spread the knowledge so that people can make better and informed decisions that improve their life. But also, we strongly believe that it's very important to get to the people to make things accessible to them. So that means, of course, to transmit a clear and interested message, but also, and very importantly, to speak in the people's native language. So that's why we are really happy to contribute to this project and also to see it translated into so many languages, and we hope that many more join the effort. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and goodbye. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Hello, my name is Elif Naz Geçer. I did the Turkish translation of the book. I'm currently living in the Netherlands doing my doctoral studies in Eindhoven University of Technology in Human Technology Interaction Lab. I work with Ivona, Kane, and Luke. I have a background in engineering and neuroscience, and I study sleep during my master's in Switzerland. Currently, my research focuses on the neuroscience of light. In that aspect, this book fits perfectly to my background, and it was a great pleasure translating it into my mother tongue. I think it would help. It will help a great deal explaining what do I do for a living to my little cousins, and hopefully it'll be less of an enigma for them now. Yeah. In the end, yeah, thank you so much for creating this book, giving us the chance to distribute it. I wish you a great day.
Excellent. So these were the video, pre-recorded videos that were sent in by the translator teams who were not able to join in person today. And what we're looking at now is a map of where all the translators are coming from and where they are currently at. And we've seen lots of languages, lots of different languages that are represented here, and importantly, basically people from all over the globe that were participating in this effort. I'm quite grateful for this as well. Again, I just wanted to highlight this: the comic book is open access and downloadable for free, and so you can download it, you can share it. So do send it to your friends and family in whatever language you want. I think we have a little bit of time for Q&A, and I just want to highlight a little bit also the work of Coline, who's done an excellent job really pulling this comic book together. Coline, I don't know if you want to say a couple of words about who you are, and then I see there's a couple of questions that have come in actually for you. Coline, go ahead.
Hi everybody, thanks for being here. I'm really grateful to have seen this project like in that many languages. This is so nice. So as a background, I'm a biologist. I have a master's in neuroscience from the University of Strasbourg in France. And now I'm taking a gap year to do a comic book. So I will be working on a new one with the University of Nijmegen in the Netherlands. So yeah, we are discussing this project currently. So yeah, thanks a lot for your effort. Thanks to Manuel. Thank you to the Daylight Academy. And yeah, looking at the questions.
Excellent. So I can just ask you this question because it's for you. So what were the challenges that you faced when you're working on this? And secondly, how was the issue with the longer German text solved?
The German was not the most difficult one. Like the languages I didn't know anything about was like Japanese, Chinese, Urdu. And like in Arabic language, you have to flip down the comic book. So I had to reorganize the reading direction of the comic book. This was really difficult, but yeah, I did it.
Excellent. Are there any other questions from the audience? Anne is just posted in the chat, where can people buy the book? Where can I find it in Dutch? So again, this is not a commercial enterprise per se. You can download the book as a PDF. You can print it yourself. We're currently not offering it as a printed copy. There's an English version that you can have printed through a comic sort of graphic novel supplier, which I can put the link in, and basically it's offered at the price of the publisher. So we currently don't have a channel really to offer physical copies of the book. But you know, the download is always going to be free. Any other questions from the audience? Coline, I'm quite excited about the new book that you're working on. I think it's going to be an interesting.
I will tell you more when I will know more. This is about dreaming and lucid dreaming. It will be really, really interesting.
If there's no other questions from the audience, it looks like we're approaching the top of the hour. So thank you all for coming. Lydia and Viola, do you have anything to close with, or any final words?
Yes, Manuel, I just have a few words to conclude. Thank you. Thank you very much, Manuel. And actually, I just would like to thank everyone, the speakers, our special guest, Daniel Smith, our wonderful illustrator, and also the audience for the really great webinar. And of course, a special thank you goes to all translation teams that have made this comic book and this topic now accessible to so many people across the world. And I don't know how it is for you, but personally, I struggle many times to explain to friends, my family, especially the younger ones, what circadian rhythms are, how it works, why daylight is so important for our health and well-being. And I mean, now with this comic book, it will be just much, much easier and also funnier. So thank you very much, Coline and Manuel, again for this wonderful initiative. And before we go, I also would like to inform everybody about another webinar on similar topics, which is taking place in 2 weeks on the 3rd of November. And I will share my screen a last time to show you this webinar. Here we go. It is Delighted Talks, that's the name of this series of webinars. And it is organized in collaboration with the different organizations you can see here, the Good Light Group, the SLTBR, the International Association of Lighting Design, and Luger Research, together with the Daylight Academy. And we will have 2 experts, including Manuel, who will be with us again. And they will talk about the negative effects of daylight saving time, also known as summertime. And they will also share some insights about how to cope with the dark period of the year that we are entering. And it will be moderated by Marike, who is also with us today. So it will be a great pleasure to welcome you again for this webinar, of course. And if you're interested, you can find in the chat the link to the program and to the registration. It is already there on the chat. So let's close the webinar now. Thank you very much again, and have a nice evening, everybody. Bye-bye.